You're up on discipline charges in front of your professional regulator. You're trying to get your license back. Then to come up with the AI nonsense and the response being, well, I thought they were real, so I used them anyways. I mean, if you weren't going to get disbarred before, you should certainly get disbarred now. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Beneath the Law. Gavin, Tighe here with Stephen Thiele. Stephen, how are you on this lovely summer afternoon?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing on this lovely day?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm up in beautiful Georgian Bay, Ontario.
I was gonna say that it doesn't look like you're in the six.
No, I'm not. Definitely not in the six. I'm in the 705, which is the hinterland area code of Ontario. For my view, I know we talk a lot about the weather here. It's kind of a Canadian thing about weather. It's sort of a big topic of conversation because it's so damn like all over the place. It's one extreme to the next. But for 2 to 3 months a year, pretty hard to beat. Pretty hard to beat Canada.
No, I agree with you, and I'm glad that you're up and enjoying.
The other 9, on the other hand, we won't go there. But maybe we can get AI to fix our weather. What do you think?
Well, you're reading my mind.
I need some AI weather because AI is, AI is the lazy lawyer's worst enemy. How's that?
100%. And I guess you got to be careful if you're going to be using that before a disciplinary committee.
This kid, like in the truth is stranger than fiction category, this one is a finalist. Maybe Stephen, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the facts of this crazy case that ended up really, in a cases going rounds. I mean, it's one of those things like, there'd be a trial, then there's an appeal. And here there was more than that. There was discipline proceedings that followed the lawyer after the fact. But the facts underlying it are just, like I said, you can't make this stuff up.
No. Well, Gavin, look, the context of this case, as you say, is just incredible. It basically starts with a fraudster, let's call him that in quotes, who gets murdered in a double murder. And the person...
I can't say I've got a lot of sympathy for the fraudster. I feel sorry. It was a murder-suicide.
It was a murder-suicide. The shooter...
So a victim of the fraud, I take it.
Yes, a purported victim of the fraud who was beside himself because of this fraudulent mortgage scheme. This lawyer is linked to this fraudulent mortgage scheme.
Do we know what the link was? I mean, did those facts come out? I didn't see that in the case.
It's not clear whether he facilitated the mortgages or registered mortgages, but there's some link.
If there was a mortgage fraud, you got to have a lawyer. So
to register the mortgages, correct? Right.
So lawyers have the keys to the kingdom in terms of real estate registration here in Canada, and you would have, if there was a fraudulent mortgage placed, someone had to place it. I'm assuming the lawyer was that someone.
I'm assuming so too.
We're speculating, but
yeah, no. Well, look, there are other cases. We're looking at the specific case here, which is a cost decision against this lawyer. But Law Society conducts an investigation, and because of the wide extent of this mortgage fraud scheme, we were actually involved in a case where the murder victim was a defendant. Pretty infamous guy. The Law Society actually issues an interim suspension of the license for the lawyer. They haven't actually fully conducted a hearing yet in terms of the lawyer's involvement in the fraudulent scheme, but they issue an interim suspension back in November of 2024. And a year later, the lawyer says, well, I haven't been practicing law. Who knows what the lawyer's been doing? Maybe need some money. and decides to bring a motion to try and set aside the interim injunction or suspension of his license. The Law Society then responds with like 1,000-page response, and the lawyer objects to that and then brings a second motion, trying to prevent the Law Society from putting forward its evidence, then says that the panel is biased because they've seen the evidence, tries to get the panel recused, and on that motion files materials which are generated by AI. Doesn't check what the AI output is. There's hallucinated cases and hallucinated propositions of law in the lawyer's material. The tribunal, this is the first time it's come up before a tribunal that a lawyer's used hallucinated cases or misused AI before them, has to adjourn the hearing for the first motion, which is to set aside the suspension, and then has to schedule case conferences. And here we go with the delay, more costs being incurred. The Law Society panel then dismisses the motion, and the issue of costs comes before the panel. And they basically take a look at the misuse of AI as being a factor to be considered in making that award.
Yeah, and as they should, it's pretty interesting that there hasn't been a discipline case that I know I've heard of yet, for a lawyer using fake, cases before a court. I mean, courts have come down on lawyers for doing that, but I don't know that the Law Society is the professional regulator or discipline association of the profession has specifically penalized anybody yet, other than
Not
this
that I'm
gentleman.
aware of. There's certainly a number of cases, whether in Canada or the U.S., according to some statistics that are kept, there are now nearly 1,200 cases, documented cases in the United States alone, where lawyers or litigants have misused AI and tried to convince a court that they should win based on hallucinated or non-existing cases.
Yeah, and what's really scary is that those are the ones that have been caught. I mean, there was one case that I read about recently where an arbitrator accepted the hallucinated cases, didn't check himself, decided the case on the basis of that, and then that got overturned on a judicial review. I mean, it's only a matter of time, I think, before some of these get through the system. I mean, there was a case, I think it was out of Oregon, if I recall correctly, where the court said, look, the court shouldn't be the last line of defense to pick up on the fact that there's hallucinated cases, but I mean, some judge is going to miss it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before on this podcast. Judges don't necessarily have any assistants or clerks. Certainly, the first line judges here in Ontario at Superior Court of Justice don't have anybody to help them. And they're basically having to use their own gut reactions or their questioning during a hearing to determine whether somebody's used a non-existent case, or they're relying on opposing counsel to step in and bring the non-existing cases forward. Now, when both sides use non-existing cases, the courts are in real trouble.
Yeah. I mean, the case is hilarious in the sense it's just talk about on discipline charges, comedy of errors. You're in front of your professional regulator. You're trying to get your license back. And it's a good idea, I suppose, first of all, the bias argument, very difficult argument to make. You want to have very clear evidence of that. And when it fails, as it usually does, that never ends well. Second of all, then to come up with the AI nonsense, And the response being, well, I thought they were real, so I used them anyways. I mean, if you weren't going to get disbarred before, you should certainly get disbarred now. I
Well,
mean,
no, and I think a close reading of this case seems to suggest that the Law Society is now opening a second investigation for the misuse of AI before the tribunal. Um, whether that's even necessary, given the underlying fraud, who knows? But certainly in terms of the misuse of AI, I can see this one as being one of the cases where they revoked the license for, dishonesty or trying to mislead the tribunal.
as the saying goes, he's dead man walking anyways. I mean, I would think that there are a few things that are more outrageous than registering fraudulent mortgages. And that should certainly get, if that should certainly get you disbarred, if that indeed is proven to be true.
Correct. Right.
And then, I would have thought that it actually, as much as it's shocking that anyone would be stupid enough to use fake cases when they're in front of their discipline tribunal. Um, I mean, I think they should be disbarred for stupidity, if nothing else. But you know, it's not. It pales in comparison to the real human toll of things like fraudulent mortgages or taking trust money and that. I mean, and the fact that this came out of us, you noted the murder suicide kind of is a sad testimonial to that. I mean, that's how this is devastating to people's lives. I mean, people who's financially ruined over dishonesty in the legal profession, it's shocking, and it's good that the Law Society is coming down strongly on those types of lawyers who are engaged in that type of conduct.
No, oh, for sure. And Gavin, I'm continue to be shocked by lawyers, and you mentioned it. This lawyer basically said, I didn't know that AI could produce inaccuracies. And, we've been talking about this in many podcasts. This has been going on for years now. How could you not know that basic um, proposition that AI is producing non-existing cases?
But people
As,
seem
as
to
a
be.
lawyer, like, how could you not know?
I mean, as a society, though, as a society, we seem to defer so easily to technology. We seem to defer. I mean, most of the time it's right. People Google stuff all the time. Oh, check Google. I mean, or Wikipedia or whatever. And, it's just, oh, well, if it's on Google, it must be true. There's this deference to technology in our day and age where we assume that if it was produced by, a computer or a computer program or whatever, they must be right.
Well, look, there's so much fake news. You go on Facebook, oh, the Leafs have traded Tavares, or he's resigning or retiring, and it's like, what are you talking about? People are just trying to get clicks, clickbait to make money or something. For
Yeah, fake.
sure.
Well, there's a lot of fake news, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's tons of fake stuff going on. But again, here in this case, here's the lawyer. Well, I had to act on my own. I couldn't retain a lawyer, so what was I supposed to do other than use AI? Yeah, but you got to check and verify what is coming out of the AI product. Can't you, like, we see this all the time.
No, I mean, look, I mean, we talked about AI a lot on this podcast, just because I think it is such a huge innovation in the legal profession. It's going to change not just the legal profession, in almost
Everywhere.
every profession.
Right.
And the legal profession is foolish if it thinks that it will be left untouched. And indeed, I think actually, if used correctly, I've said it before. I think it's a really great tool if used properly and carefully, and without deference to what it produces. And there is this inclination that, well, it looks really nice, it sounds really good, it must be right. And as I said, I think on other podcasts, I mean, it practices the classic con man routine because it tells you what you want to hear. It gives you cases that generally speaking, It doesn't give you cases that say you're going to lose. It gives you cases that tell you you're going to win, and it's what everybody wants to hear. And AI is a pleaser. It wants to please you, and it's giving you what it thinks you want to hear, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Well,
So be
and
very, very careful.
yeah, and I think one of the important things that's contained in this judgment is it provides an excellent explanation of what artificial intelligence is, right? It's based on a large language model that basically predicts or calculates probabilities to provide some kind of answer. It exercises no judgment. It has no moral sense. All it is doing is spitting out an answer based on the prompts that are fed into it. And it doesn't care whether it's right or wrong because it's not exercising any judgment. And
No, it's interesting. It's referred to as artificial intelligence,
but it's
but
not intelligent
is
at
it
all.
intelligent at all?
Right,
My
exactly.
understanding is it takes a prediction on a basis of probabilities of what the likely answer is, and that's how it comes up with responses. But I mean, I think that anyone who blindly just as I said, defers to AI, really needs to step back and say, why do I think this machine is right?
Yeah, no, and exactly. And people have to understand, or users have to understand, AI doesn't know what is true or false,
Or good or bad?
right?
It does.
It has it,
Does it provide normative analysis of anything? I mean, or as you moralistic analysis of anything?
exactly, which is why lawyers being involved in the process, um, still need to be engaged. Those who use AI responsibly, or at least check in a responsible way, have to be involved. You can't use it irresponsibly and not check. And we've seen this countless times. People don't check and verify the use of AI. But, the other thing in terms of, you know, being brought before the legal body for discipline is lawyers have to know that if they're going to use AI technology in their submissions and not check and put non-existent cases before the court, it's a full indemnity costs approach before this tribunal, right? This
Yeah, I
is
was
not,
pretty surprised at the number. I mean, it was 30 grand or something of that nature,
yeah, a little bit north of that, yeah.
which is a lot of money, but not really. I mean, given the volume of material that's set out in the decision, I mean, costs in a normal proceeding, with that kind of production would be several times that amount, I would think.
Yeah,
So there's
I'm
real
not
risk here.
sure. I'm not sure. I've seen higher costs awards before the tribunal. So $31,000 or whatever the exact number is. While high is, you're right. It's relatively light. So in some respects, maybe they took pity on the lawyer or whoever was the prosecuting counsel. That was, I guess, their bill of costs that they put forward to the tribunal, but it was a full award. There was no, like
I'm not
usually
getting a
there.
lot of pity vibes out of this
No,
tribunal
well,
for this particular um, respondent. I don't think they've got a lot of sympathy for him. I think that, in fact, the amount of process that this person is generating for what appears to be an almost foregone conclusion, people have been disbarred for far, far less than this. And, the amount of wheel spinning that's going on to try to avoid that. I mean, it begs the question of, like, to what end? I mean, what?
well, look, I mean, again, we don't know the facts underlying the fraud or the lawyer's involvement in the fraudulent scheme. You know, maybe there will not be a revocation of the license. We don't know, that hearing hasn't taken place, but you basically double down when you mislead the tribunal with fake non-existent cases and submissions.
Yeah, I think that's an important point that, one of the issues that comes up with the AI generated cases. I mean, and stepping back from that, I've got a question. If AI is prepared to come up with fake cases to support an argument, I think you better be very careful at being guided by what AI suggests is the argument at all, in terms of like putting together, how am I going to present, what is my position here? Because that's being generated by AI as well. I mean, it's almost like getting a first draft of a factum. It very much, the argument very much flows from that. I mean, unless you're going to say, rip it up and say, no, 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 let's go on a different tack altogether. I mean, it does set the tone and direction for the argument, no matter how hard you work on it. And if that's where you're getting your first draft from is AI, it's not just the cases that can be, you know, nonsense. The whole argument could be just as much nonsense. I think that you need a very critical eye and to think about it carefully. I mean, that's why I say AI is a tool and it's in its infancy and it probably will get better. Undoubtedly will get better. But yeah, I think you have to, everything that comes out of it, I think you need to take with a grain of salt and exercise your own judgment on it. And again, just picking up on your point, Stephen, because it's your name that's on the brief at the end of the day anyways. Particularly, I mean, this gentleman's name was on the brief in more ways than one. He was the client and the lawyer. But if you're the lawyer and you're submitting AI, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you did your work. The end product that goes before the court has got your name on it, and you're responsible for it. And again, picking up on your other point, when you put in false cases, I think you're being dishonest with the court. It may not have intended to be, but you are actively misleading the court through your own negligence and failing to check your work and make sure that what you're putting before the court is of substance. I mean, look, people lose all the time. I mean, 50% of the lawyers lose 100% of the time. You don't have to win every case, but you have a duty to the court to put forward arguments, even if they fail, that have a semblance of reality and are grounded in some sort of real authority and frankly an argument that you've thought about and put forward that makes some sense.
No, look, Gavin, this will be very interesting to see when a tribunal finally actually here's a case where a lawyer has either been referred to the Law Society because they misused AI in a civil litigation matter or a tribunal matter, or in this matter, was the lawyer reckless in the use of AI? Was the lawyer willfully blind in the use of AI? Or was the lawyer being dishonest? And dishonesty is a pretty severe penalty before the Law Society, or can lead to the severest of penalties, which is the revocation of the license.
Well, I mean, I guess there's intentional dishonesty and then there's dishonesty by default. I mean, it's almost like, willful blind dishonesty in the sense that, you didn't check what you were doing. You submitted something and said that it's accurate. I mean, when you submit it, you're vouching for it. And is that dishonest if you haven't at least done, a minimum of due diligence to ensure that what you're putting before a tribunal or a court is real?
Yeah,
I don't
depending on
know.
the definition of dishonesty, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's
it's like
being
it's not like
applied.
it. I mean, well, there may be cases that like that where people know it's fake and they don't really care. They just want to get it out the door and they just don't like whatever. Um, Maybe those exist, but you'd have to. I mean, in order for you to know it was fake, you'd have to have you'd have to have checked and determined that, right?
Yeah, and look, and in this case too, you brought up the coherency of an argument. What AI produced for this lawyer, according to the panel, was actually incoherent. Now, what is also interesting, and I didn't realize this until reading this particular case, is there was a second case in Alberta. There's another case in Alberta where a law student who had been
Right.
brought up for discipline appealed that decision and also used non-existent cases. So, representing yourself, first of all, that's a bad idea.
Well,
Before a Law Society Discipline Tribunal, people do it.
yeah.
But
Well, what is it? I think we can change the adage now that says if you have AI for a lawyer, then you're a fool for a client. I mean, and I mean, the AI is it's so tempting, and it really is, and it sounds so good, and it's so slick when it comes back, and it's organized, and yeah, it's really quite impressive. Like, I mean, as a technology, and in a society where we are, enamored with technology, it is pretty slick. I mean, you can say what you want. It doesn't. You understand how people fall into the trap
well,
because it does sound great.
but you're inundated with advertising every day. It's how many times I go on LinkedIn. Oh, use this, use ChatGPT, use, Claude or Harvey. And there are so many of them now.
But I think and I'll come back to it again. I think that that train's leaving the station, and if you're not on it, you're not going anywhere. I think that it is a reality. It is here to stay. It's not getting put back in the box. It's just a function of how do you harness that tool in a way that is responsible, that actually is useful and economic. And look, from a client perspective, I mean, it can do a lot of things that save a client a lot of money. I mean, if you got like a law clerk going through thousands and thousands of documents, for example, and spending tens of hundreds of hours doing that, you can stuff those documents into an AI program that comes up with an affidavit of documents, almost in seconds.
Yeah, no, from that perspective,
that's a use for that.
And just on your note, the train has left the station. The only train that I want to take is where you are right now.
So. Yeah, there's no trains here. No train.
It's no train. Look, it's I don't use AI technology in legal research, Gavin, and I just find from reading all these cases, these are cautionary tales of how not to use AI. Now, I could be wrong, and like maybe it's a great legal research tool, provided I check and verify what it's spitting out at me. But
I think I just I think you just have to be. My point is, I think it's here to stay. I think that if we're in a competitive environment, law is an adversarial, litigation for sure is an adversarial sport. I mean, if your opponent is using it and you're not, and it's a tool and using it appropriately, and you're not, you're going to get left behind. And I think from a client's perspective, there are great efficiencies with respect to this technology, just like all sorts of other technologies that came before it. But again, this one has the danger of kind of running wild, and people. I think I call it the lazy. As I said, the lazy lawyer's worst enemy, as opposed to best friend, because yeah, it's great that it does all your work for you, but you better check it. Because if you're really the lazy lawyer that used AI to generate your brief and don't check it, you could end up in the same position as Mr. Mazaheri did in front of the Law Society with no license and a large cost award, neither of which is a great outcome for a legal career. Anyway, Stephen, I think we're out of time for this episode. Always an enjoyable chat as the cautionary tales of AI begin to mount. And probably there'll be some more before we're done. That's for sure. Until AI figures itself out. Until next time, I guess no one is above the law, that everyone is beneath it, including you, Claude, including you, Harvey. Really appreciate any feedback we get. Thanks again once to our producer, Doug Downs. And until next time, we'll see you later.